Hey guys, and welcome to Advanced Tactics Gold Edition. This is a most excellent World War II wargame that is based on the freeware People's Tactics. And I think before that, the idea came from other games similar to it. There's another one that came out in the 90s, wasn't it? Empire Deluxe. I think it might be tracing its roots all the way back to that. For this Let's Play, let's go ahead and do a New Dawn random game. So as you can see, you have a lot of options for random games, which is fantastic. For this one, I'm going to pick a medium-sized world. I'm going to have, I think, 6 players. So it's going to be me, and it's going to be 5 AIs. The world type, I think I'm going to go with a normal world. So we're going to get a mix of land and water. Then the fun options start here. So I think I'm going to go with a one-town start. So we start at the beginning. Well, in this game, you not only move units around, but you control cities, you control oil resources, you try to build up your army. There's a lot of options there in the game. So we'll start with one city to start with, and we're going to have costly research on top of that. So we'll take longer to do research. Stone Age means that we're going to go for, well, the very basic initial stage of, well, not even World War II, but we're going to have basically riflemen around. We have to research everything else. No roads, wild land. I'm going to go with depleted land and deserted lands. That means we're going to have fewer cities on the map, and then the resource is going to be scarce, so we're going to have to fight for everything there. Having a climate is optional, but I'm going to go for the full range. So that means in winter we're going to have snow. So that means we're going to have rivers freezing over, I believe, and in spring we're going to have mud season, which is going to stop our planes from flying. I haven't actually used it before. We'll see how that goes. And then let's switch over to the extra settings. Yes, there are more settings here. As you can see, you can change the continental size, humidity, geological age. I'm not going to touch those. I'm going to leave them where they are. But I'm going to go for higher production cost. So not only will we have a higher research cost, but also higher production cost. And that is it. Let's go ahead and create the world, and I will be right back, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so here we are. We are now at the start screen of the scenario. I took the liberty of changing it a little bit, as you probably can tell. Anyway, it's 1939 and the world is at war. USA is as yet uncommitted. And as you can see here, we have these nations. I think the game calls them regimes. So we have Germany, United States, France, the Arab League, Russia, and China. Well, I'm going to play as the United States. And here's the map. These big squares show where there are big victory points to take. And the smaller ones there show fewer victory points. And then you get a pretty good view of the map. And as you can see, it's about 2/3 land there. There are 20 cities on the map, okay? 2 ports, 1 air base, 1 research lab, and 1 mercenary base. So we can build more of most of those things, but we get those right away on the map. And I think that's it. Let's go ahead and kick off the scenario and see what we can do as United States. So here is Germany's turn. They were the first one on the list. And here's our turn. United States, you have 4 victory points of the 28 required to win. So we're going to have 28. Here's what we produced last turn. Well, we didn't have an option. This is what was pre-selected for us. Start the game. Fuel report. Okay, we are not doing that yet. So here we are on the map, and we're zoomed in. You can see on the minimap here. We're zoomed in on our city, and let's remove the unit so we can see what's there. That's New York City here. It's on the coast. That's good. We have this territory here. Not very much. Remember we said single city startup, so we only get 1 city. There are a couple other cities around us, Chicago and Boston. We can see that right away. There are roads going from New York to both of them. There's also a raw resource outside New York and an oil well as well. So if we go up the road, down in Boston it ends, makes sense. And then up the road here, there's an oil well as well. And further up the road, across a river, there is Anchorage. Now Anchorage is also a city that's good for us. I'll show you that. If you look at New York City, you can see here, first of all, we get 4 victory points. That's where those come from. And there are Anglo-Saxon people living there. That's the people that are part of the United States in the game. So any city that has Anglo-Saxon living there, it's going to be good for us. Let's click on Chicago, also Anglo-Saxon, and Boston also. And Anchorage would be the same. So we have those 4 potential cities. New York is by far the best, though, because if we go back here and select this question mark, we can see here down here, production points, 20,000. That's good. Versus Chicago, 8,000, and same for Boston and Anchorage. Now, Chicago is also worth 1 victory point compared to 4 for New York City. And Anchorage, though, is worth 2, so that'd be a good one for us to take. However, if you follow the road up here, you'll cross another river, and then there is Moscow. So Moscow is pretty close to Anchorage, and that means probably that the Russians will beeline forward and take it. So we're going to have a fight in our hand here, I think. Looking up north a little bit from our starting spot, there is one raw resource up here too. We should probably try to get that under control. Now, we can't see too much of the map at this zoom level. Let's go ahead and zoom out, press the minus or this button right here. Okay, so get a better view here. Moscow is up here, and they have a couple of resources up there in the north. It looks like St. Petersburg is down here down the road, and then also Vladivostok. So they had a couple cities there. And further, well, let's look at further east here. There's a mercenary base up here. It's not worth any victory points, but the mercenary base is good because, as it says right here, provides a steady stream of mercenaries to the HQ. Mercenaries are pretty good, actually, from what I remember, compared to riflemen, which is what we start with in general. So if the Russians can get that, they'd be in good shape. It's pretty far away from Moscow, though. And as you can see, Moscow, well, Russia only has control over Moscow itself, whereas we have control of the countryside here a little bit. That's because every turn that goes by, it will auto-expand into unoccupied territory. You know that this is unoccupied by looking down in this status bar. Here, unoccupied, and here, United States. So Russia will auto-expand. So if you don't do anything else, if you don't move your units, you're still going to be getting a fair amount of control there. So what you want to do is get control of those victory points. Moscow, being capital, is worth 4, and St. Petersburg and Vladivostok is worth 1. And we can look here, the people, yep, Russians, makes sense. Okay, there's an oil well up here next to the mercenary base as well. Now, if we go down from the Russian cities, you'll find that this area here is kind of contested. Germany is on the east, and the reason they expanded here is because they did their turn already. Remember, they were number 1 in the list. They have their capital, Berlin. There are Germans living there, and worth 4 victory points as well. So they're going to expand here probably. There's a raw resource over here. Hamburg and Munich are cities for them. That they could take. You can take any city if you want, but you can't do as much, you can't produce as many things in a city where it's not your people living there. To the south, we have France, Bordeaux here, and they have a road up to Toulouse, and as the road winds itself north, there's an airbase out here, but it's unoccupied. The French don't own it. That is something to keep in mind. We can build more of these, but if you get it, it's a freebie. It doesn't cost you any resources to do that. Going down from Bordeaux, there's another city here, Casablanca, but it's not a city that the French have any population in. There are Arabs living there. There is another French city down here, though, Le Havre, down here, controlling these waters. So that's a pretty good one. I think that's French, and didn't mean to do that. It's worth 1 victory point. So all of these here, secondary cities, are worth 1, except Anchorage up there by us. There's also a lab here, unoccupied, so neutral. A lab lets you provides a steady stream of political points. We haven't talked about that yet, but they're up here. We're making 4 per turn political points, and we have 24 right now. And you can use those to research and do a variety of other things as well. We'll do that when we get to it. The reason we're making 4 is because our capital, New York City, is producing some. That is the French, and to the west of the French, we have the Arabs, the Arab League, Cairo, going a road up to Tripoli, and well, they would have a problem here getting to Casablanca. There's a port there controlling the inlet there, but probably they will try to get Casablanca as well, I imagine. And I think that only leaves us one more nation, and that is China, with Beijing, a road up to Liaocheng and Shanghai. a variety of resources here. There's a port as well. So, and they are connected up here to Germany. Going north, they are also connected here, kind of up to the Russians if they come this way. We'll see how that goes. Now we can zoom out one more time, and there's the whole map. Kind of hard to see, hard to read that. Let's go instead and look at the strategic map. It's a little bit different view. And what you're seeing here is anything with red is a city. Anything with a label has victory points. So you can see here, there's not red down at the lab, but it has a label. Versus the mercenary base up here, no victory points, no city. You can't see it on this map. So we start over here. We're going to try to get to Anchorage. I think we're going to have to fight the Russians at least. Tripoli here is pretty close, but Tripoli is not an Anglo-Saxon city. So we're not going to get as much out of it as of Anchorage. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see what everybody else does. We're playing with a fog of war, so while we can see the map, we can't see units. Okay, and down here we get general information on each nation. So we have ourselves here, United States. We need 28 victory points. We have 4 right now. Okay, and we are not at war with anybody, so that's good. Our immediate neighbor here, Russia, they are at war though with Germany and France, but not us, obviously. And then Germany on the other side are at war with France and Russia, but also China. So remember, Germany's over here and China's down here. So they're going to have to fight off, 3 nations here. Russia, France, and China. That's Germany. Let's go look at France down. They're at war with everybody except us. So they're down here. So they get a tough situation, except they do have access to more than the normal 3 French cities. For instance, Moscow only has 3 cities where Russians live, whereas France has 4. Le Havre down here as well. And the Arab League, they're at war with France only. They're on over here on that peninsula. So they're going to go for Casablanca, I'm sure of it. And we looked at Russia, and China is at war with both France and Germany. So they will come maybe down here trying to take the lab. We don't know. And then up here, Germany, they're going to try to attack Germany. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting to see what everybody does. And we can keep track of the expansion at least. We're going to be able to see the borders move. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and zoom in and put the markers back down. I also want to show you New York City. Remember I said we were making 4, the green number here, political points? Well, we can look at that by selecting our hex here and then selecting this symbol, production, pressing P or clicking on it. So we have 20,000 production points. We knew that from before. And we're producing these things here. We can produce up to 4 things. And what you see here, 10, 30, 30, 30, means percentages of the 20,000. You can divvy it up any way you want. And you don't have to do riflemen. That's just what you get at the beginning. And what I think I should do is I want to get over here to Anchorage quickly. I mean, I don't think I can make it before they get there, but I want to be as quick as possible to take as much land as possible. For sure, there's oil, because then we can establish a border and we can build up. And since we're not at war, once the border's fixed, we can't do anything about it until we declare war. So maybe we'll switch off our trains. Trains are useful to transport supplies and material along a train track, this one here or this one, but we don't need to do it right now. We don't have anything. Well, we also already have, if you go back here and look, here is our, I didn't tell you, but here's our Supreme HQ counter. We only have 1 unit. It's an HQ unit led by Daniel Campbell, and he has 10 staff, 20 riflemen, and 2 trains there. I don't think I need more trains right now, so let's go ahead and pick that. And we'll say we want cav units instead. It's early. It's May 1st, 1939. Let's pick the cav units. They are actually pretty good. I'll show you here what I mean by that. Remember, he had 20 riflemen. If we do a comparison between cav and the riflemen, you can see all the units here that we can produce. Yeah, they are fast. I'll show you what I mean by that. Here are the landscape stats. So when you do move your units, you use action points. And you can see here, when the cav is moving, it's only spending 15 action points in planes versus rifleman 30. On the road, 15 versus 30. So that's a good one right there. And they're also actually better at attacking, and they have a 65 attack value here against infantry, versus infantry only has a 13. So let's go ahead and go with that. And I'll probably get into more detail later on that. There's a lot of information here on this game, but we'll do it as we need to. So let's go ahead and pick our trains and say we want cav units instead. Now we have 20,000 production points, 900 for each cav that we produce. It doesn't cost any raw resources to do that. Unlike the train, if I pick the train here, it costs 20 raw resources. Right now, we are expending 40 because we're saying build 2 trains. We're not making anything. There's no green number there. So let's instead go over to infantry and then cavalry and then say select. That means next turn we should get 6 cav units come in. And since our capital here, New York City, the headquarter for it is the Supreme Headquarter. How do I know that? Well, we can go to here. We can go to New York City, see production overview, headquarter, Supreme HQ. And we're producing these units here. It's kind of a good overview to have later on with a lot of cities. And here is your total production. But since we're doing that, since we have New York City report directly to the Supreme HQ, everything produced in New York City is going to go to this unit here, Supreme HQ. So next turn we should have 6 more cav there. We should have, what, 40 total riflemen? Yep. And another 4 political points if we don't use them. And I think that's all we want to do for now. I could create a unit out of my riflemen here, another unit, and have them start moving down here to Boston, but I think I can rely on maybe 1 or 2 cav units instead. And I'm going to leave it here. It's only been a few minutes, but I want to set the stage. Next turn, we will continue with the game and make things happen here. Bye for now. Hey guys, this is Time and Tactics. Thank you very much for watching the video. It sure helps me out a lot. If you'd like, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and or that like, and I will see you in the next video.